Hey there, hikers. We hit the jackpot this weekend for the weather. It's supposed to be about 70 degrees for the next 2 days, and it'll be a little chilly at night, but we're going to tolerate that so we can celebrate our first overnight trip on the Allegheny Trail. We're starting off at the Laurel Run Trailhead, which is just off of Interstate 64. It's the last exit on Virginia side before you get into West Virginia. And we'll be heading north about close to 15.5 or 16 miles, and we're going to do an overnight at about the halfway point. We're taking it easy starting off. Quite a bit of elevation gain at the beginning of our hike today. Once we get up on the mountains, we do a bit of ridge walking and be a lot easier on us. Now at this point, about 3/4 of a mile from the trailhead, we cross the service road, and it's easy to get off trail. But if you look to the left, if you're going northbound, you'll see the blazes going up over the ridge, and it'll keep you on track. All right, we're now at the 2.5 mile point for the day, and for the past mile and a half or so, we've been going up a moderate grade. Good breeze. Temperature wasn't too bad. It's just anytime you're going uphill, you're gonna break a sweat. We made it to this indicator here that shows the Great Eastern Divide. Any water that falls on this side is going to go to the Atlantic through the Chesapeake Bay. Any water that drifts down the mountain on this side will end up going eventually to the Mississippi River and end up in the Gulf of Mexico. As we've seen before on this trail, the trail is turning into an old mountain road, or sometimes it follows old drag roads from logging operations. Recently, in this section, we've encountered a lot of blackberry vines that are just about ankle height, and we're hoping to avoid that on this road bed. For the last mile or mile and a half, we've been fortunate enough to be on mountain roads, and it's coming to an end here. We have to cross a little stream, and it looks like a switch back up a steep section of the mountain. A couple hundred yards back, we were fortunate enough to see a black bear, very shiny black bear off in the distance. We tried to get a little video of him. It's slightly better than your average Sasquatch video. So we're headed back in that direction, so perhaps we'll see him again. Okay, our original plans were to get water at a creek about 2.5 miles before the shelter that we're staying close to tonight. But we actually passed it up. The creek, I was expecting it to be bigger. There was a little trickle of water, but we passed it up expecting to find another one, and we did not. So we had to go a little bit past the shelter on the trail, and there's a sign and some blue blazing for this water source. They call it a farm pond, and there is a trickle where it seeps out of the ground here, and that's where this comes in handy. It's good to have something, just an envelope that's waterproof, that you could scoop up water, pour into a container, and then filter it. Otherwise, you can get water out of this, but then you're dealing with all the dead leaves and skeeters and anything that any passing wildlife may have left in. So it's always good to have a little something to scoop out water with. Hey there, hikers. It's early morning. We're about 50 yards off the Allegheny Trail on the Graham family property, and they have allowed the Graham shelter to be built here for the use of hikers. So if you run into the Graham family, be sure and show your appreciation to them. It does have a toilet facility, and there is water available about 200 yards north of the shelter. Be aware, last night when we went up there to get water, there was a large black bear, I'd say about 400 pounds. He moved along, but he didn't seem to be happy to see anybody along on his territory. And we have seen bear sign all along through this area. Otherwise, the shelter is in pretty good shape, especially by anyone who's been on the Appalachian Trail knows how cramped some of the shelters are. This one's fairly spacious, and it's got a tin roof. It's got a fire ring, and it's got a few amenities you don't normally see in a shelter. But we're starting out today, and we've got about 8 miles to go, so we'll see you on the trail.
Just use what you got.
All right, we finished our first overnight. We had a good time, great weather. This also means we finished section 4, and the views were good to the eye, not so good for camera or video. We saw some wildlife. The weather was chilly this morning. We got off to a cold start and had some layers on when we first started. This is the first section that we went through where there were short sections where we actually had to look for the yellow markers. And along those sections probably could use some trail maintenance in the next year or so. So hopefully that will be taken care of. But other than that, we had a great time and we enjoyed ourselves.